Welcome, Alexa. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to chat with you today just about your experience kind of leading up to Amplify and Amplify and then even beyond past that. If you wouldn't mind just kind of starting us off with just telling us a little bit more about you.
Um, I am 34. I have one daughter. I guess when I started Amplify, she was not quite one yet, which seems crazy to me. And I had previously been a professional ballet dancer for 10 years, and then I stayed with that nonprofit company and became their school director, their development director, and then finally their executive director. So I dedicated my life to them. But then when I had my daughter, I was like, oh shoot, I thought I loved the ballet, but it turns out I actually love my kid. And it was like this weird realization. So I talked to them and I was like, I think I want to work part-time from home, or maybe I can if I hire someone that's a really good assistant, maybe I could cut back on some hours. And their response was like, well, why don't you just take her to daycare? I was like,
Mhm.
oh, thanks. You know what? I actually could have considered that as an option myself if I had wanted to do it. Um, and that was every time I would try to make a concession, that was always their answer. Well, if you took her to daycare, there she is. Well, if you took her to daycare, it'd be fine. If you took her to daycare, you'd have more time. I'm like, awesome. I would actually rather let this company fail than take my child to daycare.
So not a lot of
Um,
flexibility there.
no, and not a lot of I gave them at that point, it had already been 13 years. Like I gave them 13 years of my all of my energy. So I felt a little bit like, you don't think you owe me 2 days of working from home? Like I wasn't even asking 2 days to not work, just two
Right,
days from home. And they
right.
just it was like no flexibility. I was like, cool, what a waste of 13 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like what kind of value do I actually bring then to your
Yeah.
company if you're not willing to kind of work with me a little bit here?
Right. And also I've done every role and we don't have good or we ha 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 they don't have good institutional information. So 90% of the information about the organization at that point was literally housed in my brain. I was
Hmm.
like, geez, I feel like if I were in their position, I would have given flexibility because how else are they going to get that information?
Oh,
It's
absolutely. Yeah. Again, not really understanding the value
right.
that you held within that position. Ugh,
Yeah, it
it's
was
crazy.
so then I started originally I was like I'm going to do Amazon reviews and make a passive income with all the things that I constantly buy from Amazon even though I shouldn't. And that was not it for me. It turns out I'm not an influencer, which is probably obvious by the style that I have on today. But I'm just not really not we're not really in a place for content creation over here. And that was what it took. It was like, if you just post 3 times a day, every single day for an unlimited number of days, eventually they'll say yes and you might make a little money. I was like,
Hmm.
wow, that wasn't good. But in searching all of that, Holly popped up and I creeped on her for a long time. And I was like, I feel like that looks like it might be what I want to do. And she's so I feel like she's so welcoming. She's not,
Hmm.
sometimes you see people that are marketing a business or a coaching or a something, and they seem like you're like, oh, I couldn't do that. But she made it seem very I was like, oh, it's me.
You're
Look
very
at her in
relatable.
that video. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So I guess, I mean, I do think that for a lot of people with like similar stories, they kind of start out in that more influencing, like I hear the Amazon route very often, and then
It
kind
looks
of,
so easy.
yeah, right. They make it look easy, and then recognizing that, like, oh, this isn't really either getting me to the income goal that I want, or it's not really feasible, with my lifestyle, or a combo of both. But I guess what was kind of like the deciding factor for you initially to start looking for something else that kind of led you into the Amazon and then into Amplify?
Well, I knew once daycare was the only option my previous job had for me, that wasn't going to work. But then we also want to have more kids, and my friend just got married in Germany, and we knew that was coming up. So it also wasn't an option for me to just be like, well, oh well, no income coming for me. So I was like, well, I need to find a way to sustain our life, but also raise my child.
Hmm.
Um, and so that was what put me on a really deep dive. I was like, there has to be a way to do both of those things. It can't be either I'm a mom or we have money. There has to be a
Right.
way for all of it to work.
Right, which I know is like a big thing in Amplify too, of like the land of and both and not having to
Yeah,
choose between one or
yeah.
the other. So, like, once you decided to go all in, and you decided, okay, Amplify is for me. I see, myself and Holly's story. I can do this. Like, how was that journey for you inside of Amplify as far as like the training, coaching, and the community?
Um, so when I first got in, I was like, okay, I got this. I can do this. It was like the mindset chunk. I was
Hmm.
like, I can change my mindset. And then we started getting to like where you're actually learning what you're gonna do. I was like, oh no, that's confusing. And so I still actually like even the first time in all of my placements, I would joke, I used to do what I would call like a trash run because I would overthink so hard that like my first DM convo or my first triage call or my first closing call was like awful and I would just sweat and not know what to say and repeat myself a lot. And so there was one of each that like nobody has ever seen because I did it like with a family member or with a friend that I had met in the program because I was like, I cannot submit this. They're gonna think I'm crazy. But then it was like once I'd practice it once or twice or hear what was being talked about in the coaching calls, it like everything would calm down because everybody was doing it and everybody had the questions that I had. So like the having a community, which I was actually not one of the selling points for me, ended up being the thing that like kept me calm because
Oh,
it turns out
interesting.
I overthink a lot. My
Okay.
current placement is about attachment, and overthinking is a large problem that I've learned.
Oh, so a good learning experience for you,
Yes,
it sounds like.
right. Like, oh, I'll just close myself while I'm here.
Well, and I think like oftentimes too, like obviously every person is different, but especially for women, I think that there's some level of like perfectionism and we do tend to be very thoughtful about what we do. And so I think as people jump into as an adult something that's new, that's very different, it is kind of tricky at first. Like I think we're our own worst enemy initially, but
Oh yeah.
then that community, like you said, just everyone being in the same boat, essentially having the same questions, having the same experiences, you see people as they get more practices under their belt and form that community that they're like, oh yeah, I'll just jump in and try this and we'll figure it out
Yeah.
along the way.
And it almost feels a little like fangirly. Like I had watched some like mock calls of people that were in the community. And so when I would see them in conversations, I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's her. And then you start talking to them and I'm like, oh, literally it's the same as me. Like it wasn't like an oh, that's her. She didn't have any crazy sales experience that I didn't have. But it's like the progression happens so fast that even people that are like 2 weeks ahead of you, you're like, wow, you must be a salesperson by trade. And they're
That's
not.
awesome. Yeah. And then quickly you see that then you become in that same place too
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And
become
then it
that
happens like
person that
every
the other
step.
one's fangirling over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's incredible. I guess too, like a question that gets asked quite a bit, like you're a mom, obviously juggling momhood along with, and at the time you had a full-time job and we're going through Amplify. How did you juggle all of that? Like, how did you make that work?
Um, I I'm an obsessor. That's probably like a great way to describe myself. And I mean, we contact nap, we co-sleep. She doesn't like to sleep if I'm not in the bed, so most nights I'm asleep at 7:30, just like she is. But that provides a lot of time, um, where I can't do anything but like watch a video or look at my phone. Okay, so I find a lot of times when she's sleeping was a good time because there's nothing else I could do, which was part of why I thought this could work for me in the first place. Like, why not answer someone else's DMs instead of doom scrolling on my own account?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it was pretty much every time she would nap, every time she would go to bed at night, I would just sit there with my little AirPods in and like watch it or whatever. And then when it started coming to scheduling things, it was just, I would just took time. That's so terrible. I took time out of my 9 to 5. I was like, you guys are not helping me. I don't want to be here. It's not serving me and they don't care. So I would take like a chunk out of my day, but it's only 1 hour. It wasn't, I
Yeah.
still had 7 hours that I was working for them. So it really just fit in around my schedule because you can do it. And I wanted to get through it fast because I wanted out of my job.
Mm-hmm.
So I was packing stuff in, but really it's so like you could space it out. Like you could just say, I don't have time till next week to do this mock call. and that's how long it takes you. And so that flexibility is also really helpful. You don't have to obsess like I did. You can do it at a reasonable pace.
Right, right. And I think even just like not, sometimes we don't realize the amount of time that we spend on other things that could be, replaced, kind of like you said, instead of doom scrolling,
Yeah.
I could be doing something
Right.
more productive, right? And it really is just finding chunks of like 30 minutes, an hour, daily, sometimes not even daily, right? Depending on
Right.
what part of the program that you're in. So making it very doable, just finding those
Yeah.
pockets of time.
Yeah, and the flexibility. I mean, you guys are so flexible, which is really, I think at one point I was worried it was going to take longer, and then I was worried that I had done it too fast, and it was just all so easy.
Yeah, yeah. And I think just like because Holly is a working mom herself and the program was designed that way, like
Right.
obviously there's still like a certain amount of time within the program, but it's with that conscious thought of like these are working moms that are here in the program. So just
Yeah.
providing that flexibility within that time constraint.
And everybody's kid runs across the
Yeah, oh
screen. At
yeah.
that point, everyone's
Yes.
child has been in a meeting.
Yes. And we're on coaching calls, people are cooking dinner and doing the
Yeah,
things they need to do for their
right.
families. Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
definitely on a coaching call or two, like straight up in a bathrobe. Like this is where I'm at right now. And
Yeah,
I
but
will
I'm here and I'm learning.
this. Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
that. Okay, so I'm anxious to hear, like, tell us a bit about what you're doing now. I know that you mentioned that you've had several different placements, which I love to hear. So maybe talk about what you're doing now, and then you can kind of walk us through how you're processing getting there.
Okay, so right now I'm working in one coach in her DMs. She's like a yoga business coach. And she's when I first met her, she was like, if you're doing DMs and your kid wakes up, just stop. And that's fine. And she has three kids herself, and she built her business with them by her side. And so instantly I was like, okay, that's something I can do. Like I didn't want to be
Love
sitting on
that.
my phone with her. So I stuck with her. She was actually the first placement I got when I left
Okay.
Amplify. And others have come and gone, but I stick with. I probably will stick with her like until she doesn't want me anymore, if that ever happens, or forever. I don't know. Because I just feel like we were a really good fit, and she saw motherhood as more important than work, which is
Love that.
how I feel.
Yep. Hmm.
And then I had a bunch along the way because when you get the first placement, like it doesn't always make what you need it to make, and that's fine. Like what I needed realistically at that point was like $3,000 a month, but that didn't work. That wasn't hers because I think my schedule worked because she was part-time, but because she was part-time, the income didn't work. So
Hmm.
then I was like, okay, well, I'll add on another one because I only did it with her when my daughter was napping. And so I started looking for like a second part-time, and I landed with a fitness coach, another fitness coach, a teacher coach. She like coached
Okay.
teachers how to teach.
Okay.
There was one more in there that I can't even remember. That's horrible. Oh, a nutrition coach. And all of these like came in wet. At one point, I was working for all of them because I'm a yes man and I have problems saying
Wow.
no, which definitely is in one of Holly's coaching calls, and everybody should watch that one because that was too many yeses. Don't say yes to that many people. That's a large piece of advice. So I was working all of them, and then I was like, this is more than my job was. And so then I slowly started like letting each one go. And like my husband and I talked, and we were like, you know what, we'll just pull back the budget for a little bit because my yoga coach was scaling, and I was like, oh, we'll just be patient. It'll be fine. It wasn't that much of a difference. And then I think it was like 3 days before my time ran out in the job board,
Okay.
and Holly popped through someone named Adam Lane Smith. And it was like, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I had been seeing him because I had started going to therapy because my previous job made me feel a little crazy. And so he had popped up on my feed, because every Instagram listens to you. And it was like, you're doing therapy. Here's some help. So I applied and I talked to them in July of this year.
Okay.
And they were like, we're looking for setters, we're looking for dialers, we're looking for closers, we're looking for people that are full time, all in. And Holly had always said, if you can't be full time, just be like, I can't do that. I'm going to be part time. And that was one of my bigger mistakes is I never said that. I never said that in any
Mm,
other interview because I was so scared that I wouldn't get the position that I always just said yes to whatever they were asking. But I was like, I can't do that. I have 10 hours a week and I'd prefer to close. And if that works, that works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't work. And that's fine.
mhm.
And they were like, okay, sure, let's get you onboarded. I was
Oh,
like, oh,
great.
okay, that
That
sounds
actually
wonderful.
works.
Yeah, and I've been there ever since we did end up going to Europe because I didn't have a job that wouldn't let me. So we spent like 15 days trekking a toddler across the countries over there. And so when I came back, I started. And like even tonight, they do like really quite high ticket pricing.
Okay.
So like, even tonight, I have a closing call that would be like the equivalent of over half of what I needed for the month if it closes.
Okay.
And most of them are like that. So like suddenly I'm in this place where I'm like, now I started looking ahead because it's not, it's not guaranteed. So like when I
Mhm.
look at what you're able to make in a placement that's commission only, I say like once I hit, 3,000 for October, then everything else I make in October, I'll count towards November. So I know it's covered. And then I'll count it towards December. And we were looking at it last night and like we're counting at January. And I was like, oh, that's pretty far ahead. I think this
Incredible.
might actually be working. And it
Oh,
was the
that's
first
so
time that
exciting.
I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like it was, I really just quit my job of 13 years on a whim, basically. And now we're like, at least good for the next 3 months currently on this day, which is
That's
wild.
that's incredible. I mean, how does that feel for you to be in that position?
Yeah, it's very wild. And now I find myself like this call tonight, I didn't have childcare planned, but it's like it fits my personality. I like talking to the people. I feel like I'm actually helping. I'm like truly supporting our family. So it's no big deal. So I just got childcare for those 45 minutes and spent
Hmm.
the rest of the day with my daughter. And like it's just like now I'm finding that I'm like choosing to do it during the day because it is so good for our family and it's so good for me. And it just is a very different feeling than like I'm forced to get childcare to go to this meeting that I
Got
don't
it.
care about that could have been an email.
Right. Yeah. No, that's an incredible shift, and I love that for you. So
Yeah.
then, are you just in this one offer now, or are you still working for?
I kept my yoga
Okay,
coach. I
nice.
just
Okay.
really, I feel like emotionally tied to her.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also, you can't take a closing call while a kid is sleeping on you. It's impossible. So,
True, true. So you can do
especially
that.
this kid, because she wakes up like I blink and she's awake. And so, could never do a closing call while she's laying on my lap or anything.
Right.
So, I have no reason to leave her.
Okay.
It's just time that
Right.
what else would I be doing? And I
Right.
like her. So I think I'll stick with the two for a while, but just not like the six or seven that I had at one point.
Yeah. Fair.
That's too many.
Yeah.
Nobody should do
And
that.
I'm trying to think too. You graduated, was it like 4 months ago?
Um,
About in June, maybe? June, July.
no, oh, wait, no. Well, my time ran out in June,
Okay.
but I launched myself so hard into the program that I actually was done in March.
Okay.
So my
Okay.
first placement started on March 1st.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
So
So
it took
you've
me, yeah.
accomplished quite a bit within that period of time, which is really inspiring too, to see that like something like this is possible. And I just think that that's so valuable to obviously the lesson you learned, but for others to hear as well. Like the first one isn't always it, and you shouldn't just say yes because maybe there's a
Oh
little
my
bit of
gosh.
scarcity mindset,
Yeah,
right? Like
just don't say yes.
it,
Just if it doesn't work, just don't say
right.
yes.
You are like a contracted position. So like you can
Yeah.
communicate like this is what I can give you and does that work for you? Because there are more opportunities out there, as you know.
Yeah. And that's what it is I think it feels so scary that there's not going to be another opportunity. But
Hmm.
like every time I thought there wasn't going to be, there was
Yeah.
almost to the point that that became a problem. Like there were
There's so
too
many,
many opportunities. Yeah.
which is a
Yeah.
good problem to have.
Yeah. And eventually, I mean, the the two offers I'm with right now align the most with me as a person, which is probably why they also work the most with my life as a person because it like the people are okay with me and I like this offer that I'm on right now that I'm closing for like I'm Catholic and the offer is based in the Catholic faith. Like it's
Oh,
based on being secure with your children. It's based on having good relationships and raising them well. So like of course no one cares when my kid is in the picture because I selected through enough offers that I got to one where like they think how I think.
right.
So it just doesn't there's a lot of offers that come and go that didn't think how I thought. A lot of coaches I talked to whose kids were in daycare, so they expected mine to be in daycare too.
Got it.
But eventually there's always someone out
Right.
there. Not.
And there are so many different coaches and niches and, overall
Yeah,
energy, culture, like really truly like take the time to sift through and really find something that aligns with you and that they see the
yeah,
value that you bring, like even as like because you are a mother, like almost adding more value in that way,
right.
depending on what the offer is.
Yeah, now they send everyone that is looking for like parenting assistance. Now they specifically send my way because I am the only person that has a
There you
child.
go.
So they're
Yep.
all, you got this. Like,
Yeah.
okay, well, we're not all the same, but I appreciate that.
But definitely able to like resonate a little and relate a
Yeah,
little more than others can. But
yeah, for
that's cool.
sure.
Okay, so I guess we did get a little bit of taste too of like just income that's kind of possible in the space, in the time that you've been out. I guess so everybody knows it's October now, so you ended in March and it's October.
Yeah.
And then just typical day, it sounds like just very much being able to fit it in, a
Yeah.
stacks of your time, just where.
Yeah, like my day is there's a sales group meeting at 9 a.m. every day for the one that I'm closing for, which initially I was like, that's too much. I don't want to do a meeting at 9 a.m. every day, but it turns out they're like 10 minutes long. So
Oh,
it really
nice.
wasn't even an issue.
Like a
And
quick huddle.
yeah, literally. And I just do it wherever I am. Like I did it at the vet the other day. We did it at the park. We did it on the couch cuddling this morning. Like it just doesn't even matter to them. And then I'm with her all day. I like open my calendar. Like I said, I give them 10 hours. And
Mhm.
so I have like 10 hours blocked off on my calendar that I'm near my sister. She can watch my daughter if I get a call scheduled. If I don't, then we just hang out.
Nice.
And then when she naps on me, on my lap, I answer some DMs for summer. And then, like if I have an evening block that I set up on my calendar, then I take calls and otherwise we like hang out and make dinner and go to bed. So it's
Love
really
that.
just, it's almost like not having a job, but I just like talk to other people. It's very weird. I don't even
Which
know.
which you love to do. I know you naturally love to talk to people. It
Yeah.
just sounds so different than the job that you left, essentially.
Yeah. I actually ended up going, I like guilt. Here's my yes man again. I went back to them and now I like volunteer. And that's
Okay.
all just like, it's like a totally different relationship with them. And that's okay with me because they know that now my priorities lie somewhere else.
Okay, well, I just have one last question for you.
Yeah.
So, I guess just thinking about people who, are considering getting started as a DM setter or SDR or, considering joining Amplify, what would you say to that person? Like any advice or words of wisdom?
Um, I mean, definitely do it. That's like my first thing is I say all the time, I can't believe I actually did it. Like, because I'm not really one to try new things.
Okay.
And I think doing it is the number one piece of advice that I have because it was so, so worth it, even with the ups and downs and me in Holly's DMs, like for months straight, trying to figure out the placement thing. But then aside from that, I think it's also like understanding that even though for us, it's like learning something new and not being sure if you're good at it, to a coach or to a business, we are an asset to them. And I think that mindset shift was really hard for me to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is new to me, but I have learned it and I've learned it well, and that creates value for someone else. So I should see that value and not just be like, oh my gosh, please take me because I'm new to this. Like I
Right.
just because I'm new doesn't mean I'm not valuable. And
Right.
that's like that was a huge mindset shift for me that I think was hard.
Yeah, I can actually relate personally too. And I think just like I came from a teaching background, and I know you came from nonprofit, and I don't know, it's different when you're like expected to show up to a job this amount of time.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward what's expected of you. And when you go into an interview like that, it is kind of like, pick me. I hope I'm the right fit for you. But
Yeah.
when you're like a contracted position, and you're coming with this skill set, right? You're an asset to this business. You almost get to sit at the table as equals and be like, I
Right.
also want to make sure that this is right for me because I do know my value. And so
Yeah.
I can walk away from this just like you can walk away from this, right? And it's a total shift
It
for
is.
sure.
And it's like I feel like it's almost hard to see yourself as valuable at first.
Hmm.
I don't know
Hmm.
why that was so difficult because like looking back, like Holly trained us so well. There were people like there was one placement I joined and I was looking at what her previous setter was doing and I was like, wow, we're good at what we do when we leave Holly.
Oh, I bet that felt great being able
Yeah,
to
but
see
it's
that.
hard to see that and it's
Yeah.
like hard to know it until you see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
But it
definitely.
is so like
Which is probably just the nature of being new at something too,
yeah.
But then once you dive in, like you said, you kind of quickly realize like, oh, yeah, I am an asset. I do bring value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm good. We're good at
We
this.
got this.
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
love that. I love that.
Um, yeah, and it's and like lean on the community. That was three pieces of advice. So I don't know if that's what we were looking for, but like
Definitely.
I still talk to Mara. Actually, Holly has posted, I think I was on her Instagram story once and just recently in the Discord chat.
Hmm.
And both times Mara was like, "Oh, look at you go." And I was like, "What you talking about? That's the worst thing, but yay." And so she would like send me screenshots and it's
Oh, I
so
love
like
that.
we kept in touch. So
That's
it's
so
just
great.
nice and I that was something I wasn't expecting and like I met someone that in the community that was going through a medical procedure that my mom was scheduled to go through and so like we had a
Okay.
relationship like fully outside of it. So it just is like the community is surprising. There's a lot of really cool women in there.
Hmm. Truly, though, and I think has been
Yeah.
one of the most like beautiful byproducts of Amplify
Yes.
Academy. A time and time again, I'm blown away by the community, and I hear that from people like you that's gone through it too. So,
Yeah, that's really cool.
yeah, well, I appreciate you sharing all that, and thank you so much for your time and telling us a bit more about your story. And I'm so excited to continue seeing and hearing those wins come through for you.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.